I've been operating under some wrong assumptions here, I think. I thought that almost everyone who is a high achieving academic liberal had all been recruited by the CIA, like I was, and like a couple other people from my schooling days that also were. So I just assumed that everybody that's high achieving academic, kind of on the liberal side of things, they had all been contacted somewhere in their schooling, either early on and put in MGM programs or before they left college. Somewhere it could be closing in right on the career days, right before you're graduating from college. It's their last chance to recruit you. So that happened to me and a few others, and I assumed it happened to a lot of others. But actually, and so that they would know, so that people out there should just know how ubiquitous and how far reaching the CIA is, and they should have more awareness of them, and yet they don't. But that assumption is wrong. I think people are recruited for different reasons. Maybe they have military in their family, or there's some kind of background that the CIA thinks they'll be amenable to it, or they'll go for it. It's not just their performance in school or in academics or extracurricular activities or debate team or stuff like that. It might not be that that is getting them recruited. So anyway, but the problem is we have a CIA problem, and much of your friends in the Bay Area will not talk about it. They're not talking about it anymore. It's not fashionable. They don't talk about the FBI or the CIA. They will talk about ICE. They're very triggered about ICE, and I think that's on purpose. ICE is right in your face. So they no longer talk about the Department of Homeland Security. They don't have a critique of the Department of Homeland Security, and they haven't had a critique of the Department of Homeland Security since its inception, right after 9/11. They didn't seem to notice about the Office of Total Information Awareness and how that morphed into was privatized into Palantir and the Geo Group. They also weren't that alarmed when the flock cameras were beginning to be rolled out. The data centers were going up everywhere. Now they are. Now there's a lot of people that are mobilized against the data centers. Now that the data centers are already going up, are kind of an inevitable reality already. But now that that's happening, there is now a group. There's some really interesting sort of symbolic protests and stuff, and some real resistance to these data centers and to these flock cameras. That's very interesting. So that has happened. That is happening. But again, a failure to look at people like John Brennan. And because they can't look at, mention, notice, be aware of, talk about, resist against, then that means we're totally losing. The American populace is totally losing because the American left is focused on Trump's hairdo and Stormy Daniels' boobs and things that are put out there on purpose to distract them. Trump, so much rhetoric focused on Trump and zero on Palantir. A person, a Bay Area liberal who's very active and was very vocal about a lot of things, very smart, educated the other day, and I encountered, and I said, yeah, look what happened to total information awareness. And he said, what is that? Right, not even aware of what total information awareness is, was not aware of who Peter Thiel is. So there's just a lot of crises have hit us all at once. NPR has been totally captured by the CIA, and they use Donald Trump as the foil, as a distracto clown. It's totally worked. The American left can't focus on anything that's really happening. They're completely distracted by, well, these things are happening. They are happening, but they're not, they are like indications of other problems. And so those other problems never get addressed, right? Because we don't address BlackRock or the capture of Hillary Clinton by Goldman Sachs. We can't look at any of that. Robert Rubin, the kind of Epstein phenomenon, the bribe, the sexual compromise and bribery that has happened. We can't look at that. Not talking about that. So there's just so much that's not being looked at in terms of real power and how real power operates. So they need less Rachel Maddow, more Whitney Webb. They didn't get it in time. Unfortunately, they were hyper focused, really in love with Rachel Maddow, and even manipulated by a CIA operative named Jen Psaki, who became Rachel Maddow on MSNBC. Nobody noticed. This Jen Psaki became Rachel Maddow, and she told them that deplatforming works. Deplatforming is good. And she had on AOC, and they said, oh man, banning Tucker Carlson was a good move from the media. Deplatforming works. So there's your left. They're focused on personality politics and praising censorship. And that's why they're utterly lame and utterly ineffective right now as the global elites. The child humping global elites have more secrecy, more impunity, more concentration of wealth than ever. Labor is completely, the fact that Amazon happened, that Amazon is happening, labor is just completely lost, just completely losing. We should have been organizing against Amazon for 10 years now. That would have been a 10-year effort, would have been way better than talking about Stormy Daniels' boobs or Trump's hair. Donald Trump's hair, speculating about how much he's captured by Putin. Captured by Putin, man. Wow, he's a bitch of Putin, bro. I'm so in the know. I know what's going on, bro. No, you don't. So anyway, still not focused, still losing. Bummer, bummer. Hopefully we'll wake up someday and focus, see what's happening, and get to talk about these things, these three-letter agencies, the CIA. We get to say that again. The Mossad, the MI6, Goldman Sachs, high finance, Big Pharma, and the intel community. It's kind of together, folks. It's kind of together. You've all been NPR'd out of your minds. Pfizer brained. Oh well, it's sad. All right, have a good one.